All right, good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital Nightly Strategy Podcast for October 11th, 2023. Start with the 30-minute hybrids swing portfolio. Today was like a digestion day after a couple, 2, 3 days of nice moves up. There was a lot of rolling over and PSAR flips and a quiet decline, and then some afternoon recovery. This is in Alcoa, but this was commonplace throughout the day. We're going to see that theme and those opportunities plenty of times. I considered after the PSAR flip and the dragon rolling over, I considered that as a trade. Didn't take it. I still had some residual preferences for the long side. Plus, I had some span of control issues where I was managing some overnight positions early and didn't have time for a lot of reversals. Normally, if that morning trade is in the same direction as the continuation trade, then it doesn't take as much effort to just take it. But when it's making a reversal after 2 or 3 days, I want to spend more time on it, and I didn't have the time available this morning to do that. So as I'm stalking it, I get the signal for a reversal. I see it get the RLXD on the strength of this previous move and generally favorable conditions in the market, which was, again, just digesting today. I elected to take that one as a overnight risk with a target of 28.75. There's my 2-to-1 reward to risk. This is my exit. This is where I get short tomorrow, because if that fails tomorrow, then what I have is this, and then I get short right here with a collapsing dragon, and my target is down here and down here with the same risk box, and that's probably 4R down to the base. So in a nutshell, that's exactly what that trade opportunity, that trade frame looks like. Should be able to argue that or give that narrative before you ever get into the trade at all, as opposed to just pulling the trigger and see what happens. So that's going to be, the mini lesson for today. All right, this was C3. So we had that nice move yesterday, which we exited two of the three positions, held one overnight. This thing was flirting with success, and then after about 2.5 hours in, and couldn't really break through, had now penetrated the PSAR, and the RL10 rolled over. That was enough to get out of the last one. I didn't take this trade because of the power of this trade. I like that it's holding support here and has a nice tight risk box. I'll be ready to do more of that tomorrow early, and would be ready for that one. So I just let that one rest. Amazon, standard COTA 2, hold overnight. Caterpillar, standard COTA 2. Again, this is one of those, if I could draw yellow dots on here forever, this is where the opportunity. But again, after this kind of move in Caterpillar, I don't want to get short right away. Did I give up a little bit? Yeah, maybe. Can't get them all, but I'm ready for this one. That to me is still being aligned with the primary trend. My default position is not to trade. It's an active will to trade. Like, I'm not trying to find extra reasons to trade it. Like I'm going to miss something. I got to be drag kicking and screaming into these. So this was yesterday's why is that given? Yeah, this is yesterday's short on Cliff. This was the PSAR flip here. And we held that one overnight. It closed poorly. It remained inside the noise early and just kept drifting. When it rolled over the second time, here was the opportunity for it really to collapse. It did not. It reversed in that bar and then gave me a 1, 2, 3. Came up and hit the PSAR just before the close. That's good enough for me. I'll get out with 0.5 and happy to have it. Which sets up a COTA 2, actually an SSC for tomorrow. It's not a COTA 2 because it has lower lows. So this is a potential SSC with that as the harsh move, just entering the winter. And up we're going to go. But again, I would be short from here because that would be leg 1, leg 2, and then a further collapse. I'll be ready to be short there. I'm ready to be long here. And there's 2R to the top of the stack. Good to go. CVS, no trade. Disney, this is, I neglected to mark that one up. Sorry. How did I miss that? Yeah, this one was standard exit here. Come on, dummy. Standard exit here on the rollover for a scratch. So that's the first trade in Disney that we've had since adding it to the stack. Naturally, just in time. This is barely a critical state. Just felt stupid not having it in the portfolio. So we get that one out of the way. Pardon me. All right, this is Dish Network. This one is lower highs, crossing the VWAP, kind of a collapsing dragon, failure. It had an orderly move down. It couldn't get down to where I wanted it to, and then it just had an orderly reversal. And I don't want to hold that overnight, so I'll just take the dragon exit for 0.5 on a risk of 1.0. Devon Energy, this is a COTA 2 continuation that closed pretty well. It's holding about 2R. It has cleared the previous resistance. This might have been the pause that refreshes and is now resuming, so that felt pretty good. If it was going to fail, it had 2 opportunities to fail in the morning. It did not, so I like it for the long side. Electronic Arts, no trade. Emerging Markets, no trade. Ethereum, no trade. I like the move at the end of the day. I didn't want to hold it overnight. It still has to clear this resistance right here. It sort of just peaked above it, but if that continues, it should make a strong move up to, 1130 as the target, which means if it starts moving, I can have a tiny little wrist box on it and get probably 3R potential to the top. Mexico covered the 2-position long on, it just couldn't follow through any further, and the PSAR flipped. Nice trade. Oof. One, two, three, 4, 6, 7, 8. 8 on this one. 1, 2, 3. 3 on that one. That's what 11R looks like. And it did not fail. So this may actually give us a Kata 2 continuation tomorrow, or if it's above this, it'll be an emerging dragon. But I think of it as a Kata 2 because of the series of higher lows and the power of that move. That one has some potential tomorrow. Brazil, I actually tried that one, so we covered the long here for about 8R, I'm going to guess. And then the Kata 2 continuation, and that closed pretty well. That one crossed a little sooner than Mexico. Intel initiated the Kata 2. IP, so we had a really nice run up. This is a compound complex, really nice series here. Today, the it was here, ran up, and then started suffering, made a new low of the day. It was well below the PSAR flip. On my standard risk box, I identified that I could get 5R down to here, 3R down to there. That was worth a shot. Took the dragon exit, ended up with +1. And then it just kept going, so I said, you know what, let's give that a try. And maybe the power of this move here, maybe this was just the buy on dip opportunity. Maybe that's all that was. So I'll try an SSC overnight, and we have about 1R in hand. So I'm cautiously optimistic on that one. Real estate, same thing, Kata 2 re-entry. Coke, try Kata 2 after the morning hook. Why not? KRE, this is regional banks, no trade, missed the morning hook. Mattel, not as persuaded by this one as I was with Coke. McDonald's stabilizing, I hope. This would be an SSC tomorrow. If this can continue that move, I like that potential. I didn't want to hold that right in the afternoon when the move of the day was down. So we'll see. Tomorrow that could have some continuation. It has to get above 254 to be interesting. Merck, no trade. Microsoft added a Kata 2. This was hardly a sell-off. This is still trying to unwind and unfold, right? It closed pretty well. It's above the previous resistance. I like that one. That's early days, the train leaving the station. This is marijuana. This is a 10% per day volatility intraday. So that's a Kata 2 to the downside, a supported fall crossing. It crossed the middle of the that red line there is the middle of the river. That's the simple 30 moving average. So when that crosses in a standard risk, it runs all the way down to here. I was hoping for more suffering. I took this dragon exit, +1, no overnight risk. NVIDIA initiated the emerging dragon, closed pretty well for about an hour, decided to keep it overnight. Clean Energy closed the long for 3R. Rivian, no trade. S&P was just an inside day quiet, but with some late afternoon buying. Treasuries This was a gap and go. Up it went and started to continue, rolled up briefly, caught me for about minus zero point 0.3. Had a strong finish in the afternoon, didn't want to chase. I think people chasing yield, I know I am. Tesla, tried the short. This was a scratch. There was just no follow through. And then U.S. Steel initiated the a Kata 2. This just feels like the long, painful chop. And it broke the PSAR. Was willing to speculate with it. It's been a while since I've been on it. Closed pretty well. This last hour made me want to keep it. I was very close to exiting right here, but it showed some recovery, and in the last hour it made that little bit of a gain. So it cleared the top of resistance, so I was willing to hold it for an extra day. Very speculative, no confidence in that one at all. All right, this is the sniper trade of the day. This is on 3 minutes. I want you to notice what stalking looks like. This black line, this thick black line here, is the RL30. So this thing was in a rising trend, got this high, the PSAR flipped, it sold off and made a higher low. There was another one off screen. A higher low. This is the RL10 now. Higher low. Higher low. And it's holding right in here, and the PSAR flipped. So that was worth an effort around noon, actually 11:30, to get long with a standard risk box like this. It had 3 chances to fail. It did not. The high or the low was higher each time. The last impulse on the RL30 was strong, and it made a higher low. So that feels like a Kata 2, and it wants to do that. And it's on the, it just crossed the dragon and flipped the PSAR with 3 rising lows, and it's above the VWAP. I want you to notice the VWAP here. Have a positive bias if it's north of the VWAP, negative bias if it's below the VWAP. The interesting price is if it gets above the peak of the RL10 there. So this is all just tactical space in here. And all I'm trying to do in the tactical space is get my risk, which is here, above my entry, so that I can lock in no lose plus dinner for 2. That's all I'm trying to do. It works. Standard exit at the PSAR. Now I want you to notice these blue circles are representing important moments in the RL30. Come on, dummy. The slope of the RL30 is the health of the trend. higher highs. Take the exit. I'm playing for a return to the VWAP. There's my risk box. There's a 2R target that's not irrational. It's around lunchtime. It had 15 bars to make an improvement. It did not. Maybe it's going to return. I don't know. Right around in here, you notice the RL30 has now rolled over. The Dragon has rolled over. You would think of this as an owl entry in here. This is pretty close to an owl. Maybe it's a bar early. Comes right back to the VWAP. Now notice the RL30 in that blue circle also crosses the VWAP. Notice how price is holding along the VWAP while it's deciding what to do. When the RL10 and the RL30 cross the VWAP, I take that as a signal downward, and when the VWAP cracks, it gives me a second leg down. So I wasn't expecting anything on that trade, but it actually gave about leg 1, leg 2, reversal, PSAR flip, standard exit, 1, 2, 3, 3 on the first one, 1 on the second one. There was 2 here and 4 here, so we're at 6. Caught a 2. Would this have worked as an SSC? Yep. Caught a 2. Does that work? Well, it gets to the VWAP. When it gets to the VWAP, I should be able to get my risk out and lock in that little wedge. Now I want you to notice the RL10 comes over, crosses the rising 30, holds at the VWAP. Remember, that's noise. This is where the river has reversed. That's the center of the river, that SMA 30. When it breaks above, I've got 2R in hand, 2R battle drill. It's coming into the close in the last 10 minutes of the day. I just exit. There was never a threat in here, so I was watching that like a hawk. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one earns 4. That one earns 2. So 6 plus 6, approximately 10. Study the behavior of the RL30 and its relationship to the VWAP, and notice where those turning points in the RL30 are. And that's a nice strong move, ready to roll tomorrow. This is in symbol TLT, the Treasuries, with about a 20-cent risk. You can trade the ETF, you can trade the futures with leverage. Here's Brian. This is the opening, I believe. Rolls over, collapsing dragon, gets paid a fraction. And that was the only really opportunity saw today. Still working, doing a nice job. not over trading. George, um, this is an emerging dragon. Opened higher, starting to go. I like it. We managed to turn that little bit of a winning trade into a losing trade, but that won't kill you. And then stayed out of the chop. That's good. Stay out of the noise. Same trade. Here's one that I take. On the basis of Kata 2. And you won't lose money on that trade, and that's beginning to look promising. Chop. Today was a choppy day. Sean, this is perfectly executed. I want you to notice your charts don't look like the other guy's charts. I want you to put some information in there. I like this. It held at the VWAP. It crossed the VWAP, had a strong impulse, came back and held the VWAP, and then continued. 1, 2, 3 to here. The pullback this feels like a Kata 2 to me, above the VWAP. I love the entry. Love the exit. 1.3. Let's start putting some information in here. You know, self-coaching comments. But one of the things you want to do as a coach is check performance against the plan. We can evaluate the plan. We can evaluate the prep. We can evaluate the execution. And we're checking these against a standard to determine if we were complying with what we said we were going to do with our written trading plan. I can't give you coaching feedback without those things. That's not a Kata 2. Is that an RL10? I'm looking to see where your indicator set is. Kata 2 features a successful trade that crossed the dragon, then crosses the dragon again with the RL10. The RL10 makes a clear bottom, and the RL10 reverses and is coming up. And you enter somewhere between the north skin of the dragon and the peak of the RL10, which would make it an emerging dragon. So I don't see that formation in here. I like that short. Whatever that is, we held it too long. It's supposed to go. It did not. It fell through the dragon. I like that effort. I would not have been offended on a second entry there on the PSAR break. I don't know where your exit was on this one. I'm going to presume that it was somewhere in here. There's your re-entry. There's a re-entry. Now this is a Kata 2 because you have the dragon rolling up, the RL10 crosses and then crosses again, flips the PSAR. That's a Kata 2. Um, I guess this is here. Yeah, that's a nice trade. But the re-entry is the key to sanity. This is an emerging dragon. Well, the dragon is rising, so I guess that's okay to say that. And now you have here's a low. This is where the Kata 2 entry would be. This here would be an emerging dragon entry because it cleared the peak of the RL10 and a nice exit for 1R. That's good stuff. Now, Mark, written trading plan. Here's what I said on the. You asked me for some feedback. You can only make adjustments to a system that's under control. What is a system that's under control? You have a written trading plan, clear and unambiguous rules, ruthlessly error-free execution of the rules. It's an efficient process that's eliminated non-value added steps, eliminated extra indicators that are redundant so that you get a minimum essential information set, has a clear explanation of where the edge is and why it's persistent, what it relies on, what's necessary. So in other words, it's clear to me from your plan what you're trying to do. I have no idea unless you make me go in and look at all the forensic evidence. So you do that. This is what Deming says about systems under control, and that's what our goal is in a mindset of industrial production of what we're trying to accomplish. And then it's not clear to me what role the frog box has in your trading plan. Why is that the lesson to be learned? Was it part of your was it part of your written trading plan and you didn't follow it, or was it not a part of your trading plan and on the basis of this evidence you think it should be? There's too many things going on in here. I think you're just this is what I think you're doing. I think you're playing a pinball machine in a demo account. If I were trading live with real money, where do I stop and what after several losses in a row? If you don't have that question answered, then you shouldn't be practicing. All you're doing here is getting some stick time and playing around with shooting targets. There's no clear pattern identified on each one of these. So yeah, I don't even care about that. This is not a system that's under control. What I do want to notice, however, is the importance of the VWAP throughout this whole process. And that when it crosses, the RL10 crosses and reverses, that's a signal of a move in the other direction. So how far can they take it? Well, they took it this far. When they take it that far, that actually sets up a VWAP magnet return. This is all chop, as you can see. Notice how the Bollinger Bands are tight. Notice on the expansion you have a fake 1, go 3. Look how many trades you're monkeying around with in here, not recognizing that this is a directional move, and you're trading it like you're in the chop. So you're just pulling the trigger, shooting at anything that moves. So read the lesson in the Foundations course where I talk about how to manage money using the 4 bullets method. And let's start bringing this activity under control into a written trading plan so that we can then see what your consistent performance is, so we can see what it is that we want to be able to manage. Like, you should be ready to notice that on this move, the clearest signal was here, where you have a Bollinger Band breakout. It cleared all the previous resistance. That is a key entry. So we shouldn't be getting out here. Maybe here, but then a strong re-entry here. I like that exit. I love this re-entry. So there are some good things and good instincts going on. So I'm not prepared to say we're out of control, but I think you're trying so many different patterns and different parts. Maybe you're using this to just kind of get saturated and to do rapid exploration. If that's the case, then that should be your written trading plan for the next period of time, which says for the next X number of days, my intention is to trade in a certain way. And that certain way is going to, I'm trying to achieve these particular objectives rather than just shotgun blasting and seeing what sticks. Have a written plan for your trading. If it's an experiment, say that. And then you should be trying to gather specific pieces of information, like what targets do I feel comfortable trading? Which patterns do I feel comfortable trading? As we're looking at this right now, you need to segregate this into times a day, market conditions, patterns you're trading, results per pattern, ruthless execution of each pattern. Take a look at those trade framing questions so that you start getting habituated to thinking in terms of reward to risk in a structured way. That's what I want to say. That's the feedback. There's an extended essay on Patreon about background on Dr. Deming, total quality management, systems thinking, quality control, industrial production, which is central to the way I teach trading. It's not the only way there is to trade. Your mileage may vary. Maybe it doesn't work for you. But you need to see what the background is and the justification for the approach. All right, daily report, sniper trade. In my view, this was an inside day here today compared to yesterday's strong move. After this long, strong move here, this was like digesting. It did not fail, which would not have been surprising, but it did not fail. It didn't follow through, so it's just in a holding pattern. Maybe it's going to be this. We'll know that if it breaks out above the peak of the RL10. So we're going to be ready for that. If it does break out, then these are the targets here, where the PSAR flipped and where the dragon turned, and the top of the dragon and the top of the RL10. This is the target for that next leg up, is somewhere in this cluster. If it gets through all that resistance, which is considerable, then our longer term target is here at 460. So there's actually, if that's leg 1, there's leg 2, there's potentially leg 3 and beyond. So that's the upside case. If it breaks below today's low, below the skin of the dragon, flips the dragon, flips the PSAR, then we're back into this mess. And then a break of the 30-day low leads us into this support level all the way back at 410. So we're at 436, and I just laid out the argument for a trading range of 460 to 422 with a second leg down to 410. and that's 2 legs up. That's a handy synthesis of that multi-time frame, multi-lens analysis to give you a frame of reference of the key price levels in the environment. So yeah, so this was just a digestion day. The high was lower than yesterday's high. The low was higher than yesterday's low. So that's an inside day. No new information, except it closed near the top. That's actually a favorable thing for tomorrow. So if it does break out, I'm ready to see it go up through here. Because this is not resistance at all. This is ready to go fast into here. And you can see the 30-minute was very orderly and quiet today, and then made a last-minute buying pressure. That's the same kind of buying pressure as we saw here on the recovery day, and buying pressure here. So there have been 3 significant moments of buying. Again, has to get above this, and then it's free and clear. Still bullish volatile, strong 2 and 10-day performance. Volatility is still risky and abnormal. Had a few upside breakouts today. Apple still strong. Intel strong. Microsoft. Do those 3 share any similarities? It's the tech complex, and it's old school tech. Apple, Intel, Microsoft, and really giant NVIDIA. That's telling you where the strength in what's pulling this market up. Real estate isn't hurting you. XLK technology, old school tech, is at 102, and it's slightly better than NASDAQ tech. So you should favor conservative tech is better than the Qs right now. Energy is on a momentary dip, so that could be a return to greatness when that reverses. So we'll keep an eye on that one. If that happens, what you would see is you would see USO and XLE energy sector in good shape, and then you would look to Devon Energy to see if that's taken advantage of the strength that's in the sector and the commodity. So Devon Energy is my designated target. Chevron is also in that list, and that pulled back nicely today. But Devon is already leading the way. Devon is already better than Chevron. This is mostly U.S. This is a global. There's more risk to him than there is to him. Thus, the difference in performance. The usual suspects. Gee, what's working? Boeing, Microsoft, Intel, U.S. Steel, Apple. Where have we heard that before? Devon Energy getting ready to rock. Here's the recovery in Walmart that we talked about last week, starting to happen right in front of our eyes. In the ETFs, real estate and tech, yep, and treasuries on the search for yield. Look at that difference in performance, short term versus long term. This has some potential for the bottom to be in. All right, that's everything we got for today. We'll get published and posted. See you tomorrow.